What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks, live from the home studio today. PHLY is always presented by Bet Parks, Central City Toyota. Countdown to kickoff. What are we now? So let's do the math here. All right, I used to be good at math, but I'm not. So Friday would be 24 hours. Saturday would be 48 hours. Sunday would be 72 hours. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. 4, that's 76 hours. Kickoff 6. 80 and a half hours till kickoff in the Super Bowl. Eagles and Chiefs. Glenn Foley is going to join us on today's program. Former NFL quarterback, the pride of Cherry Hill and Boston College. Jamie Lynch checks in from the Big Easy. We'll start talking about the game today. Everybody out there that's watching live, or you're watching later on in the day at your convenience, just make sure you're subscribing to PHLY. Smash the subscribe button, comment, like, get involved in the show. We have a nice live chat during the show. We've built a community of people that watch live every morning at 8 o'clock, and we shout out to you this morning. So I woke up today, and I went on the hunt for predictions from all the media outlets out there. And what does it matter? Well, listen, it doesn't, right? Like, I think we all know that it doesn't really matter who is who predicts what. It's just interesting to see exactly what everybody's saying, right? Like, that's why I look for it. I'm like, all right, like, what's everybody saying? Because it felt like yesterday that it's like, oh, like everybody that said the Eagles were going to lose, the Eagles were going to lose against the Rams, the Eagles are going to lose against the Packers, the Eagles are going to lose against the Commanders. All of a sudden, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, like I don't know how the Eagles lose this game. I had this by a couple people yesterday. I go on with guys up in New England, and Javier said, I don't know how the Eagles lose this game. And I'm like, well, I mean, I do know how the Eagles lose this game. They turn the ball over once or twice, and Kansas City capitalizes on it. We could come out and we could do the keys to victory and turnovers and third downs and all this stuff. But really, like, when you look at it on a very basic level, I think that's what's going to determine this game. If the Eagles turn the ball over, if Kansas City turns the ball over, if the Eagles can't get Pat Mahomes off the field on third down, right? Like, that's going to be the difference in the game. That when we see each other again after the weekend on Monday morning, and we're either celebrating or we're being like, oh my God, I can't believe we lost another one. Like, I think a turnover or a stop is going to decide this. I've heard a lot of people say in the last however long, oh, I think the Eagles win by double digits. I think this is a clear, decisive victory. Or Bob Cooney, our buddy Bob, said that he thinks this is the end of the Chiefs dynasty, and this is a relatively easy win for the Eagles. But they, on ESPN.com, which is I check out a lot of different sites. It's almost like with the mock drafts. Excuse me while I drink my coffee. Like a mock draft, I don't really care who you are. I want to see what you have with the mock draft. You may have no credentials at all. It's very interesting to me, right? So I was searching around before we get to the ESPN.com because they pulled 67 people. That's right. USA Today, 2 of their 4 experts went Eagles. So 2 Eagles, 2 Chiefs. The Sporting News, if people even know what that is anymore, was one person picked the Chiefs. They only had one person. They picked the Chiefs. The Athletic, 9 of their experts, 5 picked the Chiefs. All right, so 67 people who weighed in. ESPN.com experts, names like, let me see here, Ben Solak, who did a lot of stuff in Philly, Damian Woody, Dan Graziano, Dan Orlovsky, Jason Reed, their mocker, Jeff Darlington, Jeff Saturday, Jordan Renan, Joe Buck, Jeremy Fowler, Herm Edwards, Scott Van Pelt. So they went with reporters for I don't think all the teams. Maybe they did do all the teams, but the reporters, national guys like Sal Powell, SportsCenter guys like Scott Van Pelt, and they asked them all. So Tyler Zulli, also in his home studio today. Tyler, of the 67 people that were polled for this investigative journalist piece, how many do you believe have the Chiefs winning the game?
I think it's probably pretty close. I think the leanest Chiefs, I would say of 67 people, I would go 37 picked the Chiefs.
Not bad. 41 have the Chiefs winning the game. That's 61.2%. 26 claiming the Eagles will win, 38.8%. The most common score prediction, 27-24. And then there's a lot of 27-23, some 31-28s. So very close games. The highest margin of victory was 14 points. I don't know who picked that. 63 experts said this game will be decided by a touchdown or less. So 63 of the 67 said a touchdown or less in that one. Mildly surprised. I don't know. It felt like there was a lot of people that were leaning that way. Yeah, Joe Buck has the Eagles winning, by the way, if you were wondering.
One of the things that you and I have discussed a lot this week, and I've been talking with a lot of people about, and I think Bob brought it up as well. I think a lot of people will feel that this is going to be a close game. For those that feel that it is going to be a double-digit, two-score type of game, I think if it is a larger margin of victory, I think the Eagles have the better chance of pulling away against the Chiefs than the Chiefs do against the Eagles. If it's a close game, that is where it starts to swing closer and closer to the Chiefs because of how good they are in close games, because of the clutch factor of Patrick Mahomes, because of Andy Reid, because the defense is really good. And we talk a lot about the Eagles defense, and we should, but the Chiefs defense is excellent as well. I think the closer that this game gets, and I think you're going to see that's what you were laying out. The prognosticators were picking a lot of 27-24s and 3 and 4 point wins and things like that. The closer that this thing gets, the more it's going to feel like it's a 50-50, maybe a lean Chiefs, maybe a lean Eagles. If you think that this is going to be a lopsided affair, 7, 10, 14 points, I think the likeliest outcome of that is that the Eagles win by big. But if it's a close game, I think this is about as close of a matchup, if you think it's a close game as it could possibly get.
Yeah, the close game favors the Chiefs to me. Like a drive for a field goal or needing a stop. If the Eagles need to get a stop on Pat Mahomes, I don't like that. I would much rather have the Eagles on the field needing something than Pat Mahomes, who always seems a way to weasel and get a first down or get a penalty call or something like that. So yeah, like I think like the higher the score in this game, I think the more it favors the Eagles. The closer the game, the more it would favor the Chiefs to me because they found a way to win these close games. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
So I hope there's a little bit of separation.
Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs have the capabilities and maybe it's not just the Chiefs. Maybe it's a combination of what I've seen from the Chiefs offense this year plus what I've seen from the Eagles defense this year. I don't see the Chiefs putting up a 35 spot in this one, where I could theoretically see a way where the Eagles could put up 30 or 32 or 35. The likely scenario for me is that this is a lower scoring game. It's two very good defenses. The Eagles, the number one defense in the NFL. So it comes down to time of possession, and as you brought up in the beginning of the show, limiting turnovers. These are the two teams that did two of the three best jobs in the postseason of limiting turnovers. The only other team that was just as good was the Buffalo Bills, who played in the AFC Championship game. The teams that limited turnovers this postseason were the teams that were playing 2 weeks ago, and two of those three teams are playing on Sunday.
Notable predicting a Chiefs win. Dan Orlovsky, 24-21. Who else here? It doesn't. I don't think it has Tim McManus on here. I guess Tim doesn't make a pick because he's the reporter for the Eagles. But yeah, I mean, like I guess we should. I guess this is something we should have expected, being that they're slight favorites in the games. Now, I went back and I looked at all right, so what were the experts saying before Super Bowl 52? Eagles and Patriots. They polled 85 people for that, for Super Bowl 52. 85 people. 61 picked the Patriots. Just 24 for the Eagles. Again, not all that surprising. Eagles were playing with Nick Foles. I think in Philly, we felt really good about the game. But nationally.
Hey, hand up, I'll tell you. I picked the Patriots to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, and
as you brought up,
it took a Hail Mary to win that game, not literally, but figuratively. And they got it. They got it. The Eagles got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those things where maybe I was doubting when does the magic type of thing run out, and clearly it just never did. Right. But when you say, hey, they're lining up against Tom Brady, the GOAT, and they're lining up against the Patriots. This Patriots defense was good. They got gashed. Clearly got gashed, as we could see by the Eagles scoring 41 points. But never in my wildest expectations did I expect A, a shootout, and B, a shootout in which Nick Foles would outduel Tom Brady. So my expectation in that game was that I took the Patriots to win that game. I did. And then on the inverse, 2022, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, I was so chesty. I thought the Eagles were going to roll in that game, the way that they had played all year, the way that they had played in the playoffs. And I know they got the Giants in the divisional round, but like the way that they steamrolled San Francisco, I was so chesty. So maybe, John, I just need to pick the Chiefs because I'm 0-2 in my Super Bowl prediction since I became a professional with the Eagles in it. So,
and by the way, this portion of the program brought to you by Glatt Hair Restoration, Glatt Hair MCTR, 610-980-4000, Glatt Hair Restoration. All right. Yeah. So you mentioned the Chiefs and the Eagles the first time around. Most common score predictions, again, were close games, 27-24, 27-23, 31-28. And as the 63 experts thought that it was going to be a close game on that one. And it was more people picking the Chiefs as well in that one. And they actually don't have here it is. The Eagles were favored 45 out of 71. So the Eagles 45 predicted to win. The Chiefs 26. 63% back then on ESPN.com said the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl. Which, I mean, they were favored in the game, right? So I mean, it's even though it's 2 years ago, it's still kind of hazy in my mind that after they lost the game. But I think this is very much a I don't think this is a double-digit win. I don't think this is oh, man, we got this. I think the Eagles can win by 4 points and it not be a last drive, you need a touchdown or you need to get a stop to get the win. And we'll give official predictions tomorrow. But, I mean, I think the Eagles win. I think this is, like a lot of people think, I think it's a close game. And it comes down to a couple things happening in the fourth quarter. Let's you know what? Let's give a game ball out here. Foley's going to join us coming up in a little bit. But the game ball, proudly brought to you by our friends at Xfinity Mobile. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services, Xfinity Mobile. I got to give it to our guys, our injured offensive linemen, Landon, Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens, because the Eagles injury report came out yesterday, and I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, Jalen Carter's sick. Are you concerned about that? Like, well, I mean, without any additional information, I have no reason to be concerned. Did he have a cold? Is he I'm assuming he doesn't have something very serious that would put him in jeopardy for the game. I'd rather have him sick now than sick. Oh man, he came down with the flu on Saturday, but there's absolutely positively no worry about Jalen Carter being sick and missing the game. But, Dallas Goedert's back. He's ready to roll. A.J. Brown yesterday talked about how he really did have a knee injury, and it limited him in the first couple of playoff games. But he's now good to go. Cam Jurgens is a full participant. The back is feeling better. Landon Dickerson. These guys aren't going to come out and say, yeah, man, I'm really effed up, but I'm going to play. No, I'm sure they are. Cam Jurgens couldn't start less than 2 weeks ago. Then there's obviously something that's still there. And you have eyes like me, even though, man, the closer I am, the more I need to get these zapped. Landon Dickerson could barely walk in the NFC Championship game. So he's going to be out there. I'm sure it's going to be wrapped. He's going to get shots in it and pain, whatever it is, he's going to play. There's no way he's not going to play. So you got to overall feel pretty good about the health of the team as they go into the game. And then you know what? Is Landon Dickerson, does he take a shot and he's got to come out? When I say a shot, does he get hit? Does he get compromised or whatever? Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But the fact that Goedert is as close to 100% as he's been, and that AJ's now had, it'll be 2 weeks off of that off of that knee to where he's going to be as healthy as he possibly can. That is super duper big. All right, a couple things here. So the question of who replaces Kellen Moore, and everybody realizes that Kellen Moore is going to be the Saints' next head coach unless something very strange happens. But you're going to have to replace another offensive coordinator. And, there's not a lot of veteran names out there. So the thought is their current passing game coordinator / associate head coach, Kevin Patullo, is the name to watch. I know Mike Garafolo was on Anthony's show. Was it earlier this week or was it late last week? I know he had said that he's a top name to watch. And listen, we have the Super Bowl, so we're not going to spend a lot of time with this, but somewhat concerning. Last time they brought in an inexperienced offensive coordinator or somebody that didn't have experience being an NFL coordinator, we saw how it worked out with Brian Johnson. It didn't. And then Nick Sirianni was very much involved, and he was meddling, and it was fighting back and forth. And then you had Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni not getting along. So while in theory Patullo is that next guy to step up, I worry because he's homies with Nick Sirianni and he has no play calling experience. And here's the other thing. I haven't heard his name mentioned once in any type of a search for an offensive coordinator. And I know they're still in the playoffs, which maybe will limit it, but I listen to all these insiders and everybody else. I never hear his name mentioned as being like, oh, well, he's a young coach to watch. Some guy, the Duval guy, Liam Cohen down in Jacksonville, he just hired I believe he's 29, his offensive coordinator. Now, he's not going to be calling plays, and he was, I think, an assistant offensive coordinator. But, yeah, he's 29, and he comes in to be the offensive coordinator. But he's not calling plays because of Liam Cohen. So, coming in and being an offensive coordinator and not calling plays is one thing. Actually having your offense, just remember this. Kellen Moore was hired to come in and have his offense, even though it's still kind of the Jalen Hurts offense with what they're doing, but still, it's not Nick Sirianni's offense. Nick Sirianni's not calling plays, right? So you bring somebody in here that's already been in-house. I don't know if I like it, man. I don't.
Well, I think the biggest attribute to Kevin Patullo that he could possibly bring, because I agree with you. I think that there is concerns about never being a play caller, being a young guy, whatever the case may be. The biggest attribute that Patullo brings this team is he's here. And the turnover that Jalen Hurts has had at offensive coordinator, what's it now, like 8 consecutive seasons with a different offensive coordinator dating back to his time at Alabama. I think that's got to be difficult for a quarterback it's got to be difficult for any player, but for a quarterback specifically to play under a new coordinator year after year after year. That, I think, is if you're looking for like one shining star for Kevin Patullo's name to be put into consideration, is he's here. I don't know how much that buys you, but I think it's got to count for something, knowing the uncertainty that Jalen Hurts has had at offensive coordinator for 8 consecutive seasons now.
Yeah, no doubt. It makes sense. He can be here and be the quarterback's coach or something, or the passing game coordinator. Where's Frank Reich at? Is he ready to come in and be the coordinator? I just need somebody with experience, man. I can't risk, not with this team, not with this roster. The last thing you need is Nick Sirianni being involved in play calling and influence on offense. I want him away from that. Because really, if you think about it, in the last 4 years, when have the Eagles sucked on offense? When Nick Sirianni is heavily involved in the offensive play calling. Like, sorry, that's true. I've been sitting here defending Nick Sirianni for however many weeks since I fired him this season. And, you got to give him credit. Whatever he's doing is working. You know what he's doing that's working? Him not calling plays, brother. So I don't need Nick Sirianni now being like, oh, the offense is struggling. Kevin Patullo is struggling. All right, let me get in there and call plays. People won't know it, but I'm really I'm the one pushing the buttons. No.
Well, I think that then if you're looking for somebody who's called plays before, I think the one name that a lot of people are going to bring up is Bobby Slowick, who was fired from Houston kind of strangely. But the thing with Bobby Slowick is his offense works the best when there's a fullback being used in the offense pretty routinely. And this team, you've seen a linebacker. You've seen like Ben Van Sumeren play fullback at times because they don't usually carry a fullback. They have towards the end of the year, but it's not one of the things that they invest in. They've used tight ends at that, that H-back position, and they've used, like I said, Van Sumeren as a fullback. I'm not sure like a guy like Slowick would fit the mold of offense that they're trying to produce. So if you're looking for somebody who A, has play calling experience, and B, can share a similar scheme to what works for Jalen Hurts, what works for this Eagles team, I think that pool is probably a little limited right now.
All right, we will we'll get into some chatter with Glenn Foley. Foley. He actually played with Frank Reich in New York with the Jets. So we'll talk to Foles about what he thinks about Frank Reich maybe coming back. Also, the game, his prediction. Jamie Lynch joins us from New Orleans later on in the program. Philly. John Marks, don't go anywhere. We here. All right, let's talk about big game just days away. Bet Parks Online Casino and Sportsbook has you covered for the big game this Sunday. So again, Birds 1-point underdogs against Kansas City, over under 48.5. If you're going to bet the Birds, and I'm assuming almost everybody is that's watching this or listening to this right now, I'd wait. You might get this down to a half a point. You might just get this down to a pick 'em, make up to 1.5, but still, I think it's worth waiting to see if you can get it down a little bit. Maybe take them on the money line as well. And the only app I would ever use and recommend to bet sports and to play all your favorite casino games for real money. So get some skin in the game and bet sports, or play blackjack, craps, poker, roulette, and hot online slots while watching the game. Play lots of hot online slots. Play blackjack with a live dealer or right on your phone. Download the app right now. Enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. New users download the app and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Your casino bonus must be wagered. BetParks.com for details. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland for the BetParks app. Gambling problem? Yep. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hoo-ah. All right. TrueMark Financial. Let's talk about him here for a second. TrueMark is, it's amazing. I have my business checking account at TrueMark Financial. But right now, if you have you're carrying a credit card balance that's accruing interest. I do not like accruing interest. Well, you know what you do. You need to transfer that balance, and you can do it to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card. They have an amazing offer. If you apply by the end of the month, February 28th, 2025, transfer your existing balance from another institution, you'll get zero interest until 2026. That's correct. Zero interest on balance transfers for 12 full months. All your payments are going towards reducing your balance. You are not paying interest. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a low rate for everyday purchases, TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans are subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate. All right, we're back. Tyler, we'll go into the locker room with Jamie Lynch later in the program because he's in the locker room in New Orleans. He may be in the sauna. You think Jamie Lynch is the guy that goes in the sauna with a bunch of other naked old men and sits there, or does he check the sauna? Because I would go in the sauna if there's nobody else in there. But if there's other people in there, even with just the towel on, I don't want anything to do with the sauna. I know Glenn Foley's been in a sauna or two in his life, and he's going to join us right now. G. Foles, what are you doing, brother?
I drop towel, go straight into the sauna with pure confidence. You know how it is.
Wearing your tremendous hat. I like it.
Hat. Yep.
Do you make that yourself? Are you selling them down at Phillies games and stuff? What's going on?
No, this is not contraband. This is official G Feezy. I call my company Feezy.com. It's just not created yet.
Right.
What's going on, Marcy? I got booted out of my old studio because of this ice storm. Did you guys get ice up there? I'm down.
Yeah, the kids are virtual today, so everybody's at home.
Yeah, I'm in my kids' room. I got props. I got Dobie. I got a Sam Darnold signed helmet from the Panthers. How about that?
Where did you get that item from?
We'll give this away for free by the end of the show if you are the 15th caller into the Marksy show.
If you want it.
If
anybody out there wants it. Where did you get a Sam Darnold signed helmet?
I actually went down to talk. Matt Rule asked me to go down and work with the Panthers when they first got down there, just to go down there and give him a little overview.
Nice. So your brother Ed was on Matt's staff for many years at Temple, and then he went to Baylor with him, right? But
correct.
Is he at Nebraska with him, or is
he's recently been canned, but
I saw that.
Yeah, he's still there, but he's not within the team. He's working with the camps and the outer stuff, which is what he did great at Temple. It's why all those Temple teams were good. My brother actually was the creator of the camps, Diamond Street.
He was the recruiting coordinator at Temple when they got. I mean, and they were getting NFL players left and right on those teams.
And what they did great. They had Diamond Street, which is, I mean, you go down there, you're in a bad part of the neighborhood. They turned it into an absolute recruiting fest on the weekends, especially in June. I mean, you go down there, it was run them in, run 40s, time, height, weight, get them in, get them out. They had a factory. My brother was in charge of all that, and it was Rule, Adazio, Golden, all went on to bigger and better places while my brother stayed there. And then the guy that came in after Rule was kind of a nut job, so he left, and then my brother followed him.
Adazio came in after.
No, after Dazio, it was the
loser that went to Georgia Tech. What's his
that? He was there. My brother was there through the guy with Georgia Tech also, who went on to bigger and better things. Then there was I forget the guy's name. Who came from the Midwest somewhere. But anyway, he ended up going to Baylor. Then he went to the Panthers, and then he went out to Nebraska. And Nebraska's, if you watched Nebraska last year, their special teams, it was Murphy's Law stuff going on. They had no choice. And my brother's Temple had a top 10 special teams unit with my brother doing it. So he's had, and when I talked to him, it was just a matter of fact, yeah, probably going to get fired. Our team was just atrocious.
Rod Carey, Tyler Zulu, my producer, checks in. Rod Carey was the coach.
Yeah, correct. Rod Carey's character questionable. So whatever he did, he turned it around, and he just my brother was the key. They just had to keep him because what they did in the summer was unbelievable. And winning at Temple is not easy in football.
All right, before we get to the game, we were talking about Frank Reich because the Eagles are going to have to most likely replace Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. You played with Frank in New York, right? He was at the end of his career. What? I mean, his resume kind of speaks for himself here in Philly. He won a Super Bowl as offensive coordinator. What's Frank like? Why like Carson Wentz loved him? It seems like everybody that plays for him really loves him. What is it? What's the secret to Frank Reich?
Just a great guy. The guy in the room. If there's ever a question offensively, you look at Frank. Hey, Frank, does that make sense? And he would give you the yes or the no. Absolute professionalism. You're going to get a meticulous guy. Doesn't no stone unturned. He gets along with everybody. He's a people guy too. So I've never met. If you don't like Frank Reich, there's something wrong with you. He's that kind of guy. So he's just meticulous at everything he does. So it'd be great to have him come back to Philly. He's a perfect fit, and obviously he was a better OC than he ended up being a head coach. So it's a great fit.
All right, we are. I believe I worked it out to being 80 hours away from the Super Bowl. G Foles. And listen, I know we like to analyze the line. It's come down a little bit. The Chiefs are point favorites. It's essentially a coin flip in the game. I don't think this is really all that complicated. I don't. You have two very good teams, two well-coached teams. Eagles can run the ball. We know what the Chiefs do. I mean, really, what Spagnuolo's done to that defense and how they've drafted and developed some of those players on defense, they are, like your hat, tremendous. So I think anybody can really see how the Eagles lose this game and how the Eagles win this game. But sitting here on a Thursday morning, how you feeling going in?
Man, I got bird stuff everywhere. I think they win. But again, it's going to come down to the minuscule thing. It could be a turnover, it could be a strip sack, it could be a fumble. But these teams, they don't turn it over. They both play great defense, and obviously their offensive lines are the two best offensive lines, not just this year, but these are all-time lines. So this is going to be a slugfest. I'm thinking this is going to be an under game. You're going to get a quirky, like 19-18 type of game where you're going to get both good defenses. And the way Howie solidified their defense, putting Mitchell back there in the year he's had, it's been unbelievable. So, and what I love, I just looked at the Eagles injury report, and their offensive line is beat up. Not one Not one of them has a letter next to their name, which I love. So they're coming to play. I love the Eagles in this game just because they're hungry. They're hungry. Not that Kansas City's not hungry. This is going to be a slugfest. I just think you got to flip a coin. It's going to come down to a weird play. It's going to come down to the turnover or some kind of weird fumble. And the team, what you don't want to do, and this is what I said last year, the San Francisco was like, oh, let's keep the ball away from Mahomes. But then you get a close game. If he gets the ball last, you lose.
You lose, yeah.
So what I think is really going to happen, the key to this game for me is the Eagles wide receivers. And we talked about all year how they didn't have to use them, and A.J. Brown was a distraction and this, that. Well, I think Spagnuolo is going to bring the ranch. And I thought Redskins did a good job, but not a good enough job. I would have just lined up and blitzed every down, make Hurts beat you with his arm. And I think that's what you're going to get. But you're going to get it in weird ways. Okay, you're going to get the corner. You're like they got. You're going to get the weak safety whip. You're going to get 4 weeks. You're going to get all these. They're going to be blitzes, but they're going to be run blitzes too. So you can't just blitz randomly and let Saquon break it, because once he gets through, he's gone. So you got to be selective, but I'm blitzing every time there's a passing down. Spagnuolo is going to bring the ranch. That's my prediction. But the Eagles receivers make plays that the Eagles will win this game, and the big play by the Eagles wide receiver could spring the game.
Do you, if you're the Eagles, do you come out and do what you've done all year, which is we're going to go with Saquon Barkley. You're going to have to stop him, even if it's not necessarily working great. We're still going to go to it. We're going to go to it. Is that how you come out, or do you come out and run a little bit of pace, get the ball out of Jalen's hands, quick passes? What would you start with?
Yeah, I'm gonna come out in our traditional whatever. Statistically, we've run best with Saquon, and I'm gonna run a play action and try to loosen up the defense and get A.J. Brown out there. They're gonna come down. They're gonna give you the single safety. I think they're gonna come out and say, "Hey, Hurts, beat us with your arm. Go ahead. If we lose to Jalen Hurts with his arm, okay, we can live with that. What we can't live with is Saquon running for 250 on us." So, and Spagnuolo, Andy Reid, we all know Andy. He's going to be prepared. So it's going to come down, in my opinion, it's going to come down to Hurts hitting his wide receivers during blitz sessions. So let's see what happens. And let's see if AJ could go for 250 and 3 scores, and the Eagles could rout him if they complete their passes, but that's unlikely.
If there's a win by double digits, is it a better chance it's the Eagles that win by double digits than the Chiefs?
Yes, absolutely. Only because the receivers are much better, and the Chiefs have to stop the run. So what do you got? Now you got Smith and Brown on the outside. Stop them, and it's one-on-one. Now, the thing that bothers me, it hurts when he gets one-on-one with A.J. Brown out there. Even if he looks covered, throw the ball anyway. Release it. Let him go get it. Great receivers find a way to get open at the very end of the route. So I really think they're gonna make. It worked last week, even though 55 was put up on the Skins, I call them, or the Commanders. The blitz was getting home at times. The blitz was getting home at times. Spags will see that, and they're going to come from everywhere. And if they can complete these passes versus the blitz, the Eagles will win the game.
Yeah, when you were saying that you would blitz them more often, let's blitz them all the time. The first thing that came to my mind is it feels like even in the Rams game, when they blitzed, it worked.
Yeah.
Right. They just didn't blitz enough. I can think of, they've been giving up some sacks here the last couple of weeks. And I think a lot of them have been on the blitz. So I agree with you. And the Eagles have to also sense that that's going to be coming, and they should be prepared for it. But the way Spagnuolo disguises these blitzes, man, like that last play against the Bills where they sent a corner blitz, it was on the short side of the field. They didn't even see it coming.
Nope.
And Allen made a great job just even get a throw off. But still, man, like Spags has been around, and man, I mean, he's looking for another Super Bowl. It's unbelievable.
How many Spags have there?
Well, like 3, right?
Wow.
Two Kansas City, one New York.
Like you said on that, they call it a cat blitz when the corner comes. So to have to be that calm in that situation, to bring the cat, which you hadn't seen I don't know when. You have to go back in the film to go back to say, when did they last run the cat blitz? That's why I screamed at Joe Brady when I was in Carolina. That receiver needs to be split out to the sidelines, and which will make the safety come over, and it'll show the cat. So the split was the problem there. That's why he got caught. But what a play by Allen! Almost makes the play anyway.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, he dropped it. Kincaid should have caught it.
But a perfect example of how Spags is going to hit you when you least expect it, and with some really weird blitzes.
Glenn, do you think and I'm curious to your answer to this, being a former quarterback. Do you think there's been a lot talked about in the last couple of weeks with Pat Mahomes and getting favorable calls on roughing the passer? And the thing that drives me crazy is he is baiting these guys into doing it. He's slowing down before he goes out of bounds, and then he's flopping. He's sliding late, and he's taking hits that really even shouldn't be called, but he's sliding late. Do you think that the league, knowing how much this is being talked about, and even the refs, just because they know that this is something that is like people are saying that it's fixed, that they're calling the game differently for Pat Mahomes. Do you think that works against the Chiefs in this game to where they're going to be less likely to blow a whistle based on Pat Mahomes taking a shot?
No, you'll see. It'll be cleaner. I think they're going to let him play. I think you have to let him play. This last game of the season, let him play, and that sideline rule is going to get changed. The minute they're going to put another line on that sideline. The minute Mahomes starts dancing, you need to point. If you're the quarterback, point to the ground. That means that's where you're down. That he's tiptoed along the sideline, and that there's that couple yards of white. I think Saquon got hit late. Once you get to that point, unless you get bowed into the bench, there should not be a call, especially if you're a running back. But that'll be fixed. Mahomes, you can't use the sideline as a weapon, and that's what that Mahomes is doing, and he's doing it. Why wouldn't you? He's doing it. I love what the Redskins did too with the tush push. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm doing the same thing. 30 inches, I'm going helmet on helmet. I'm putting a 300-pounder in there, by the way. Helmet on helmet hurts every single play, 5 straight times. Give him the touchdown anyway, but hit him. I'm going helmet to helmet on tush push and taking the 1-inch penalty. That's the problem, is why the tush push is going to get kiboshed, because you can take a 1-inch penalty.
It doesn't matter,
on defense, and it's you go back 5 on offense. So there's an unfair balance there. But I'm helmet on helmet hurts any tush push.
Now, were you officiated in a similar fashion when you were quarterback, Foles? Did you get the benefit of the doubt on guys punishing you outside of the pocket?
Oh yeah. I was the guy that I never got a flag call, but there was always a fine for the guy. Peter Boulware threw me 14 yards in the air, right? No flag. He almost threw me into the referee, right? I look up, like my eyes are crossed like this. I'm like, what? I didn't see anything. I'm like, on Monday morning, $15,000 fine. Peter Boulware for throwing me like a rag. But getting back to your point on the refereeing and or the game 6. Put it this way: when I had Cote as the coach, we got no calls. I mean, it was unbelievable. The following year, we get Parcells in there, and we're getting all the calls. So the coaches have a lot to do with it, and going out and talking to the referees, not being the guy that's screaming and yelling. Andy Reid may have the advantage here with the referees. He's a jolly fella. He's been around forever. He's probably not yelling and screaming at him like Sirianni does all game. So Andy comes off as this nice, jolly guy. So the Chiefs get the calls. They really do. And the better teams tend to get the calls in the NFL.
And it was, I don't know if you saw the Washington media whining and the fans whining about, the Eagles got this call, the Eagles got that call. Guess what? They're the better team. They're the home team. They won 14 games this year. They're a perennial top of the conference team. The Commanders haven't been relevant in years. Of course, they're going to get calls over Washington. That's how it works. That's how it works in all sports. Come on.
The Commanders fans were complaining. They turned it over 4 times, got a 60-piece put on their forehead, and I mean, what do you expect? And on the worst, Marksy, I had them actually in a close game, and then they messed with Rocky. I said Slaughterfest. It's
over. Yeah.
Slaughterfest, amateur hour. The Redskins were chirping. I'm like, this game's going to be a Slaughterfest, and the Eagles smashed them.
What's the hardest hit you took as a quarterback? What player and what was the situation?
Well, I got my shoulder ripped out of the socket. My shoulder's up here stuck under my chin, but that wasn't the worst one. The one was in Miami, and when they grab you, now they outlawed this hit, and I'm upset they did this because it breaks your neck and your shoulder. When the guy grabs you, the 340 guy grabs you from the inside, and it's always the tackle. It's not the end guys. I'm not worried about them. It's the Ndamukong Suh. It's so when they whiff on the retail value of your guards, you save your money on your guards in the NFL. They grab you and then they jump, and then right when you get to the ground, and there's Miami Dolphins 1997. I can't remember anything, but I do remember this. As he's hitting, now he's going to throw his whole weight of his body and his muscle as I'm planting into the ground. It's called planting. You can't plant the quarterback anymore.
Right.
He planted me, neck broke, shoulder snapped. I'm still like this when I wake up in the morning. So yeah, that one's worse. This sternoclavicular joint, they can't fix it because if they try to and then something goes wrong, it'll leak into my heart and just straight kill me. The hit was the worst. It's a slow motion. I'm going, oh no, this could be death. He's 350 on top of me, and I'm going into the ground with him on top of me, and then he's gonna use a little extra force as I go into the ground. That's
all his weight and then some. He's driving you in, yeah.
And then his muscle, it's this on the way right into the ground, and he throws the extra shoulder in there. He's just, you can just, how you can just like kind of pancake. If you accidentally roll your child, you're gonna kind of like but if you wanted to like kill a dog that's trying to attack your child, you're gonna get him out. And try to snap the thing. But there's ways to hurt and ways not to hurt. And Bruce Smith was one of the great ones who was classy, except for when he hit Frank. I never his way almost ruined Frank Reich. But he would hit you, pick you up, but just don't make him angry. But there were ways to hurt you. You could hurt a quarterback anytime you wanted back in the day. Guys would do it, and guys wouldn't. Most of them would, though. And
I bet.
I was always on the reel for what you can't do the following year. They would have a preseason camp where the refs would come and say, okay, these hits are now illegal. And then I would go, okay, I got 1,000, I'm on this one. Sure enough, the planting rule, you can't plant the quarterback. There I am. I'm up on the reel. I think I made like $28,000 one year because I was on the reel. It was unbelievable. But yeah, you cannot do this. Okay, Foley, how many times are you going to be on this one? It's going to be 3 this year.
Oh. All right, so listen, what's your final score?
I got a weird one. I got 2019 something. Yeah, I got Eagles 2019. See, there's the Chiefs are so meticulous, and now Mahomes is taking his 8 and 9 and 10-yard runs all the time. So they're just they're 10, they're 12 play drives, and they score. But the Eagles defense is going to have something to say about that too. So I think you're going to get a grind early. And then you'll get a couple of plays. I think if the Eagles can make a big play in the passing game, you could get a 30-17 Eagles win. Right. But I see 19-18, 2019, something like that.
G Foles.
Oh, wait a minute.
You're the best, brother. Oh.
Birds, brother. Bah!
All right, Glenn.
I can't get it off. All right, later.
Yeah, it's pretty small. G Foles and your pee holes. Jamie Lynch live from New Orleans is coming up right after this on Philly with John Marks. Yep. All right, let's do it. Glatt hair restoration. All right, so don't look at my eyes. I need to go to Dr. Morgenstern about that. But yes, glatt hair restoration. You can see it. I got a freshie from Razor Bar on Tuesday. Hair was looking good. I was wolfing. It really is amazing. Glatt hair restoration by Morgenstern Medical, the experts in the industry when it comes to hair. It's all they do. Their hair team they've been around. We're talking about over 30 years of industry experience. So Lisa, Cheryl, Jen, everybody, that's all they do. So year after year, and I've known them all over 10 years. If you are concerned about your hair loss, you're like, damn, it's really starting to go back here. It's thinning. I'm losing hair up here. Glatt hair restoration, it's perfect, right? Because you're going to get a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. And then from there, it's like, okay, maybe you want to go hair restoration. Maybe that's not necessary just yet. Vitamin supplementation, very popular these days, especially with women. PRP and stem cell, non-invasive treatments as well. Glatt hair can help you during all stages of hair loss. Leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration. Glatt hair is just not about restoration. It's about innovation. Bald's optional. Give them a call today. Visit their website, glatthairmctr.com. Glatt with one T, G-L-A-T hairmctr.com. Or call the hair team at 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. Hoo-ah. There we go. All right, let's talk about Rothman for a second. Oh, yeah, you're talking about here. G. Foles talking about the shoulder, the neck, and everything. Man, he probably lived at Rothman when he was a player, right? Well, that's not a good thing. But if you do have injuries, if you do have an achy back, a hand cramp, elbow, shoulder, you just don't have to have Glenn Foley type injuries. Or obviously, if you tear your ACL or you have a serious knee injury, yeah, that's where you want to go. Hip replacement, knee replacement. They have docs that are laser focused on their specialty. So whether it's hip, knee, spine, you name it, they have a team for your body part right in your backyard. All right. But what if you're not like majorly 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 injured? Maybe you were like me and just had a bad shoulder, a frozen shoulder. 6 out of 10 on the pain threshold. 5, like I could live with it, but then it became more difficult to do everyday things. And when it didn't go away after like a year, I feel ridiculous having to, I waited this long. I finally went to Rothman, and this is the truth. One office visit, the diagnosis, I was expecting cortisone shots and MRIs and everything else. Like, you got a frozen shoulder. I'm going to write you a script for physical therapy. Go ahead. We have physical therapy right here on site, Rothman, if you want to do it. 6 weeks of physical therapy. I was discharged. My shoulder has been back to 100% since then. Don't wait. If you're a golfer, a runner, maybe you just like everyday life, your knees aching, your shoulders aching, your elbows aching, you don't have to live with it. Rothman Docs can help you. Specializing in you and orthopedics, Rothman Orthopedics. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Why? Well, it's already Thursday. This has been a quick week and a half leading into the Super Bowl. Sometimes it drags on. I know there hasn't been a lot of news, right? I know everybody expects it. The Super Bowl. It's like the biggest thing that happened in the last couple of days. Myles Garrett was on Radio Row yesterday, and I believe he told Zach Gelb of is it Infinity Sports, formerly CBS Sports Network or CBS Sports Radio, that like they're asking him, well, who you want to play for? And of course he's going to say the Eagles. The Eagles are a top team. So he had said the Eagles. So that was a big thing that happened on Radio Row yesterday. Is Jamie Lynch in the locker room right now? Tyler Zulli, is he ready to go? Do we have Jamie?
He is not here yet, but we can hear from Myles Garrett if you want to hear from him.
Let's hear from Myles Garrett. This is Zach Gelb yesterday on Infinity Sports Network.
This is all about football. It's not about money or attaining another contract. Just want to play meaningful football at the end of the year. Be playing it to late into January and into February, and having that feeling of holding that trophy.
When you walk around here today, what's the one team that you got the most? Hey, come join my team.
Oh man, the Eagles have been out in full force. I've heard a good amount from Detroit, and Commanders have spoken up a couple times as well.
And the Eagles, right? They're in the big game.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman's always wheeling and dealing. We even have some of their media right here to the right recording this conversation. And my old boss, Spike Eskin and Ike Reese, they're chanting at you, come to Philadelphia. You could see yourself eating some cheesesteaks and winning a championship in the city of brotherly love.
I mean, we went there for a preseason. I definitely got me a
there it is. All right. Yeah. So, Spike and Ike, they were yelling at him as he walked by. And I guess he wasn't like I guess they were trying to get him to stop, as I would. He didn't go over there. Yeah. Listen, he's a great player. But you can't have everybody on your team, can you? Unfortunately, they just signed Bryce Huff, and I think they can get out of that after another year. But if it was free agency or he was just coming here, I'd be like, all right, you can make that work. The draft picks are too much, man. I can't give up. When I look at the way that this roster was constructed, they're signing free agents that are great value signings. Saquon Barkley was not a lot of money. You could have Gabe Davis, the wide receiver. You could have had Saquon Barkley. Zach Baldwin was a bargain, right? Like Howie has done a great job. When you look at the year they won the Super Bowl, you look at those signings. He wasn't going out and giving $150 million contract and giving up multiple first-round draft picks or multiple high draft picks to get a player. And to me, that's really the difference in it, is that you're giving up the draft picks, and that's what's rebuilt your team. It's inexpensive, young talent. You have to hit on them, but in the most recent years, they've done it. So are the Eagles going to kick the tires and look at it? Yeah, I mean, they should. Of course they are. You gotta. The guy used to work for you. The Browns GM used to work for you. So I'm sure that Howie has already spoken to Andrew Berry about it.
I know we talked a lot about this yesterday, but to go back on it just for 1 second, like I think you and I are in agreement. The Eagles are going to need to acquire an edge rusher at some point in the offseason, right? Like between Josh Sweat departing, maybe you re-sign Josh Sweat, but I don't think they're going to. Between Josh Sweat likely departing and Brandon Graham making it pretty evident that this is going to be his last game in the NFL, maybe we get surprised and it's not. But I think the likelihood is you're losing 2 edge rushers this season. So that leaves you with Nolan Smith, who's
got to replace him.
Alex Hunt, who I'm not ready to make a full-time starter yet, and Bryce Huff, who's been wildly disappointing. You're going to need to get an edge no matter what. It's a matter of your allocation of resources. Are you willing to allocate the money and the draft picks to acquire probably the best defensive player in football? And I think with the way that a lot of their roster is constructed, and I know you brought up Zach Bond yesterday, like, are you going to re-sign Zach Bond? You're going to end up losing somebody or maybe multiple somebodies if you acquire a Myles Garrett. But if you're acquiring the best defensive player in football, does that mitigate those losses? Does it help mitigate those losses?
Yeah, the point you bring up about, all right, well, you're re-signing Josh Sweat. Are you paying him $15 million a year? Well, why not just pay Myles Garrett $30 million a year? If you're going to pay Josh Sweat $15 million a year, I mean, that does make sense. They're a little bit thin at edge rusher. Not a little bit thin. They're thin.
Oh, yeah, they are.
They're thin. So draft pick maybe, free agent signing. I just like Milton Williams. Is he gone? Seems like it. He's going to price himself out of the Eagles' plans because he's developed into a really good player. Yeah, like you're going to have to replace a lot of these guys on the line. So is it make more sense to use that $30 or $40 million that you would spend on Myles Garrett and the draft picks? And all right, we need to re-sign Zach Bond. We need to re-sign Milton Williams, or we need to sign a replacement at defensive end. We need to re-sign Josh Huff. I don't know, but they're going to have some work to do.
Well,
lose some players.
This is where the balance of like, do they use a high draft pick? Like there's a lot of good edge rushers. I don't think there's many great edge rushers past Abdul Carter in this draft. But like, do you end up with a Nick Squirton or a James Pierce? And are they the type of guy that is you're good enough with? Or do you maybe think about like a second, like do you go to a Kyle Kennard, right? Like there's depth at the edge rush position. I don't want to get too inundated with like draft talk, but there's depth at the edge rush position. But how much are you going to rely upon that depth plus Jalen Hunt in year 2, plus Nolan Smith probably as what would become a full-time edge rusher? Or do you supplement all of that and say, here's the game plan. We're going after Myles Garrett.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think that they will, but the fact that they do need an edge rusher, and if you're going to pay Josh Sweat $18 million a year, why not pay Myles Garrett $35 million a year? Well, let's do this. Let's go in the locker room, which is brought to you by TrueMark. Did all that holiday shopping? Now you have that big credit card balance. Don't pay interest on that. How about zero interest? Yeah, Tyler, we're good on Jamie. Don't worry about Jamie. Zero interest until 2026. TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest and balance transfers for 12 full months. You just got to get in by February 28th, 2025. Right? Transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a low rate, TrueMark Financial can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare. For full details and to apply today, TrueMark Financial, federally insured by NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate. We're going to go in the NBA locker room today because we were just in the Eagles. We were just in the Birds locker room and the NFL locker room as Jimmy Butler has been traded to the Golden State Warriors. Yep, it happened. They wanted KD. Kevin Durant said, no. I don't want to go back to Golden State. Probably a wise decision by him. So in addition to being acquired by Golden State, they give him a 2-year, $111 million contract. So he had a $52 million option. He said, that's not enough. I'm going to decline that, and you're going to give me 2 for $111. Man, that's a good deal. Warriors sent Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, a top 10 protected first-round pick in 2025. Dennis Schroeder goes to Utah. They just traded for him earlier in the season because he was supposed to be the answer. So Jimmy's not coming to Philly. I didn't think he was going to come to Philly. Paul George also, if it didn't work out with Butler, Paul George would have went out there. They would have made that dumb decision. So unfortunately, I think Paul George is going to be here. But like, what a brain dead bad decision by Golden State. They still don't see the writing on the wall, and now they're extending the nonsense into many years going forward, or at least 2 years going forward. They're not going to win with Jimmy Butler. They're not going to win next year with Jimmy Butler. They're not going to win the following year with Jimmy Butler. Steph Curry's still a an all-star player. He's in the latter stages of his career. Draymond Green, he's a legacy player for Golden State. Doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. The team's just not good enough. They're not even close. They're a playing team. They're not a top of a conference team. So acquiring Jimmy Butler is the ultimate desperation trade. What is that going to do? Is it really going to make him that much better? I don't think it is. So Jimmy Butler, now a Warrior. But we mentioned Paul George. Oh, who returned to action last night? Paul George back on the court. Joel Embiid did not play. Paul George did, as the Sixers lost to the Heat 108-101. They're now 20-30 on the season, which is good news for me. But Paul George, 9 points in 32 minutes. He did chip in with 1 rebound and 2 assists. Good job. He did have 3 steals. 9 points, 1 rebound. Good job, Paul George. Well, I mean, the good news is he's only signed to a max contract for 3 more years after this. Doesn't seem like that he's going to get traded, but it does seem like that 76ers ownership is now involved. At least David Murphy wrote a really good piece in the Inquirer that was posted yesterday that was saying that, like, yeah, well, it looks like the ownership now is kind of looking at this and saying, like, this is not working with the trade that they made at the trade deadline. Because they traded KJ Martin. They traded KJ Martin and 2 second-round draft picks just to get out from his contract.
Yep, for nothing. And as you brought up, get out from under the tax.
It's all financial.
Tax apron. It's all it is. It was a salary dump.
Yep. They gave this. It's like old school days when the Sixers used to get draft picks for taking on bad contracts. Now the Sixers are giving out draft picks for taking on their bad contracts. Financially motivated.
Yes, things. You remember Sixers legend Andre Kirilenko?
Man, AK-47,
who straight up told the Sixers, "I ain't coming."
And the Sixers said, "Yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
No problem at all, brother.
You do what you want. We'll buy you out at the end of the year anyway."
Wasn't it more fun back when we were getting first-round draft picks for taking on bad contracts and salary?
Well, there was hope, and that it wasn't fun. I'm not going to tell you 9-73 was fun. It was not fun, but there was hope. Like, there was a corner to be turned at some point, and now instead of it, now you turn the corner and you run into a brick wall. You know what I mean? I think they're flush up against the brick wall at this point. I don't know how many options there are left. Now, this was a year that went catastrophically wrong because of injuries. Because they assembled a team on paper you thought was going to be competitive, right? Between your big 3, and you sign Caleb Martin, you bring in Yabusele, you bring Drummond back. At least theoretically, you should have been a competitive team.
And by the way, shout out to everybody watching on TV right now. Switch over to all PHLY to watch the rest of the show. Go ahead, Don.
It was a team that theoretically probably should have been a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, and what we all expected. I don't think any of us expected this many injuries, this rash of injuries, but it's also just been a perfect, bleep storm of everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for this team. And the problem with that is I don't think they have any options at this point.
Yeah, it's a helpless feeling because, like you said, on paper with the glass half full, like, oh man, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. And McCain actually gave you weren't expecting really anything from him, and he looks like he could be a potential star. But the reality is that is Paul George going to return to all-star level form, or is this kind of what we're going to see until they end up trading him away? Negative John would say that's the case, right? Like he just doesn't look like the player that a lot of people thought. And I heard people in Los Angeles, the radio that I listened to out there, that were saying like, oh yeah, like no, you can't match that offer with Paul George. Goodbye. I had to ask when the Sixers signed him, why the hell didn't the Clippers max him out for 4 years?
Sure.
It was his player. Why would they only go a certain amount of money in years to Paul George? Well, it's pretty clear. They were making him an offer they knew he would refuse because he had max contract offers elsewhere. So they offer him something where Like, it's like, all right, well, here, we're willing to give you this. They knew he wasn't going to accept that. He couldn't leave all that money on the table. So now you got Paul George. Like, I mean, seriously, what's the hope? What's the hope on any of this?
And the unfortunate part about, I think really any contract, but when it comes to the NBA contracts, I think specifically because of, as you brought up, the players know that there's a max offer somewhere elsewhere. The unfortunate part with the PG contract was, like, monetarily speaking, you were going to have to pay him big bucks to get him, right? No matter what team it was, he was going to get the $40 million a year. I think the problem that a lot of people had, and what I think a lot of people are realizing now, the fourth year is the problematic portion of it. As you brought up, I think the Clippers may have offered him a 3-year deal, if I remember correctly. I think the fourth year is where a lot of people get frustrated because now you're saddled with an extra year on the back end at a large money deal, and you're already talking about potentially moving this guy. You got 3 years left on his contract. It becomes enormously difficult to move that many years and that much money in that many years.
Yeah, there's probably 10 players that really deserve a max contract in the NBA, and he's not one of them. But you give him out because these teams have the money. I mean, it really, like, the most difficult
cost of doing business, unfortunately.
It is. It also hurts. It hurts the league because you see how many trades that are out there. A lot of times you're just trading bad contracts to get out from under them, or that you're using a bad contract in a final year because teams can clear salary cap space by acquiring. Yep. I mean, All right. One other thing, Pete Alonso back to the Mets on a 2-year deal, according to Jeff Passan. Or Jeff Passan, sorry.
It's funny. He turned down a pretty significant contract offer earlier in the season. I was pretty convinced that he may end up in Toronto. And the reason I thought he may end up in Toronto is because I feel like it feels like it's trending to me like it's a foregone conclusion that Vlad Guerrero is going to walk in free agency next year. And so I assume that, you use Alonso as your DH because Vlad's a better defender. You use Alonso as your DH. And, when inevitably Vlad walks in free agency, you have a first baseman at least ready to plug and play. I'm not going to tell you that Alonso is this elite defender, but at least you have your first baseman heading into 2026. That contract that he signed with the Mets to stay, I believe there's an opt-out after next year. So it's a higher AAV for 2 years, really with an opt-out after next year. I think what it seems to me is he's going to test the market again next season. I expect him to hit like 40 home runs. He's a darn good hitter. He's got ridiculous pop. I expect him to hit close to 40 home runs. And then he'll probably test the market again this year. It seems to me he didn't find what he liked. And so he moved on and he signed what ends up being a pretty short-term deal.
Yeah. All right. We will be back for a Football Friday, Super Bowl Football Friday show tomorrow. I believe Black Gritty is going to sit in on the show, and we'll have some other guests and fun as literally hours away from the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Shout out to everybody watching live on YouTube. Subscribe to PHLY. If you'd like to watch my YouTube, it's at John Marks Media, JONMARKS Media. And that's where I am across all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. If you want to drop me a line or an email, always great to hear people talking. All right, people sending messages. Anthony is live today at 11 o'clock. Normally we throw it over to Anthony. He's live at Yards. Is that which Yards is he? Where is he today?
I believe their main brewery.
Their main brewery. Okay.
Yes.
Well, if you know where that is, Google it if you don't. And Ant will be there live from 11 to 1 today for the Anthony Gargano Show. We appreciate everybody watching, listening. One more show, and then the Super Bowl. We'll talk to everybody live tomorrow at 8 a.m. See ya.